Well, thank you all very much for being here. Last season was, so I found a lot of positives and good things and some disappointments in the season. We started off 9-4 and went on a tough 3-game road swing to begin the conference play. Went to Troy, went to Georgia Southern, went to Georgia State, won 2 out of 3 games, and Georgia Southern beat us by 3 at their place, in which we could have gone up 1 with about less than a minute to go. There was some positives there, but we faltered after that. We won one. We came home and won another game against Arkansas Little Rock, and then lost a heartbreaker to Louisiana Monroe. And then I want to say we went on a 4-game. With the Monroe loss, I think we lost 5 in a row before we won another game. Most of those games, with the exception, I would say, of the last year's games, with the exception maybe of the Lafayette game at Lafayette, were close games. When I say close, there were several games that, like, for example, we lost to Georgia Southern by 1 and by 3. We lost to Louisiana Monroe by 3 and by 3. At Georgia State, I would tell you here, beat us by, I want to say, 10 or 11, but it was pretty much an 8 to 10 point game, the whole game. When we seemed to hit, when we lost those games, we seemed to hit the skids, and I was concerned or bothered by the lack of leadership that was provided, with internally, so to speak, by players. We also had lost Wes Davis, who was a key player for us, someone I nominated for Defensive Player of the Year, in that we would always put Wes on the other opponent's best perimeter player. And Wes, 4 out of 5 games, would do a very good job on that player. So we lost Wes for 4 or 5 games to an injury, and that's when we lost almost every game, if not every game. We threw away some opportunities. For example, on the last road swing, we lost Appalachian State by 3 there, and we lost Monroe by 3. If we'd have won those 2, it would have given us our first winning season in 12 years last year. And the players regrouped, and we beat UTA in the postseason tournament, and we're playing Lafayette very, very well until the last probably 7 minutes of the game when they overtook us. And so I have some positives to build on, but obviously I was hoping, for a better finish in 8th place last year. I thought we were capable of finishing in the top 6 or 5, and we came very close to doing that, beating South Alabama twice, who I think had a pretty good year last year, at least within conference play. And so we have to be more consistent and and show more, resilience after a loss or 2, and not let that get us down. And that has been going into the year, that has been my request of the returning players. You got to be tougher. You got to show some more maturity. Sometimes you're going to lose some games. For example, we lost an overtime game to Arkansas State at Arkansas State, in which we failed to notice that the opposing team put our team's names in the book and had a wrong number for one of our players, and yet that is our fault for not catching it. So we start off down 2-0, we go into overtime and lose by 2 in overtime. And little things like that could have maybe made a difference somewhere along the line, and we have to, there's just a fine line between being a winning team in the top 4 or 5 and being a losing team coming in at 8th place, and last year's team was a good example of that. And I'm telling our players we have to show the maturity and the toughness to overcome some of these close losses and not let us get down about that. So that is a big thing. We have Imani Gant, Kaven Tilbury, and Kendall Ramlell coming back for their 3rd year. Tilbury and Gant are key players for us. We have Cam Naylor, Ethan Montavo, and O.J. Black coming back for us. They were key players last year. So we have a good nucleus of 5 or 6 players coming back that provided us a lot of experience and minutes on the floor. We're going to need 3 or 4 of our 5 recruits, or 6 recruits we sign, to to step forward and help us. I feel good about this team in terms of their practice efforts, the camaraderie I've seen on the floor. There is the immature things that I saw last year. I'm not going to call it bad attitude. It's just immaturity about getting down on yourself or maybe getting bothered by a referee's call, things like that, is a lot better this year. And so I am optimistic and hopeful for a much better finish this year than last year. And we were picked 8th, and that's okay by me. You know, the players, they don't know what we got, what we brought in and how our practices are going. I've been pleased with them thus far, so I'm optimistic we can finish better than 8th and produce a winning season and maybe even a top 4 or 5 finish for this team.
Thank you very much, Coach Kaspar. As a reminder, please press star 1 to get in the queue to ask questions. Our first questions come from Dan McDonald with McD Media. Dan, please go ahead.
Morning, Coach. What's the biggest difference in Imani Gant right now than maybe the player he was last year or 2 years ago?
More maturity. I'll give you an example. You know, we're playing UTSA preseason, and we've jumped on them, and we have a 13-point lead. And second half, they come out battling back. We're on the road, so you expect that. And, Imani gets, there's a double technical between one of their players and Imani for jawing at each other. And then UTA is really fighting us. I think we're up 2 with about 6-7 minutes to go, and he gets a second technical for saying something to a referee about a non-call. And I agree with him. Watching the tape, I thought he got fouled, but you can't let that bother you. It goes back to what I said earlier. Imani may be the biggest person I'm really talking to about this is your senior year. It's time for you to let go of some of these immaturities, the immature things that have kept you from being the player you can be. You have to not let the referee's calls or your own or missed shots or turnovers get you down, and we gotta fight through that. So I haven't seen near as much of that in practice that I did last year in terms of, letting things bother him that should not bother him. And so maturity, hopefully, is he's mature to the point where he understands he doesn't have to take it all upon himself. He understands that don't let one bad call or one missed shot mess up the whole game for you.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you very much, Dan. We have time for one more question from Luke Johnson at The Advocate. Luke, please go ahead.
Hey, Coach, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Luke. How are you?
Doing well. Something I've been kind of asking around coaches today. What was your reaction when you heard the news that Sean Long was returning for his senior season, and in your opinion, what makes him good on the court?
Well, Sean Long is obviously, I think most of us were disappointed when he didn't declare for the draft. But Sean Long is a very good basketball player. He's got a pro body. He's got a beautiful outside shot. And when we played him last year, what we tried to do against him was ineffective in that if you go one-on-one, he scores a lot. He scores a great deal. And if you double team him, he found open players. Sean's a very skilled player. I do think he's an NBA player. And, my understanding from talking to their staff and just watching is that, Sean's biggest battle is against himself. He can't let things bother him like Imani Gant. But I thought last year he did a much better job in conference play of conducting himself in a professional manner than he did, say his sophomore year. So, obviously he is, I think, by far the consensus player of the year, and the number one talent in the league. And so I think besides him, I think Louisiana. So Louisiana brings a lot of other players coming back, but when you add him to the mix, you got to put him at the top of the list as far as preseason favorites are concerned.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you, Luke, and thank you, Coach Kaspar. That's all the questions we have for today. We appreciate your time.